Hello everybody, and welcome to another Buildcraft session. Today's is sent in by Tron Jeremy, and we're going to be looking at his thief build. Now, power thieves are pretty common. It's a little bit better than the heart seekers, and you don't have to rely so much on resources. And you don't have to have utility skills that help boost your resource amount, which is good, or resource recovery amount. So you'll see, with that open slot, he's going to make some really good choices that make his character really hard to kill. Okay, so he's going sword pistol, which is very good, mainly because sword has a great burst ability that would make warriors and mesmers super jealous. The sword 3 ability is called pistol whip, which allows you to stun your foe and then slash repeatedly with your sword 9 times. Now this is a half-second stun. It is enough to make sure that at least half of your attack goes off if they react properly. Now when you're looking at mesmers and warriors, they have to set it up so that their burst skills can do maximum efficient damage. Mesmers have to go sword pistol so that their pistol can stun and then they can get off their burst sword damage. And with the great sword for warriors, they have to use their 4 ability to cripple their foe, use their whirlwind attack or their number 5 rushing ability to get right up next to their opponent so that their burst ability can do as much damage as possible. And even then, they can still just dodge roll away. So having a confirmed at least half of your attack every time that you use it is great, especially on Thief when it's built off resources. So it's pretty spammable and takes up enough time so the resources come back and you're not hurt. But let's look at what else he has. His first ability is a chaining auto attack, which ends with a cripple and a weakness, which is really nice. So basically, you can constantly have someone with cripple and weakness on them. That's crazy. If you're in a team fight, that basically means whoever you're targeting is who your team should be focusing on, because they're not going anywhere and they're going to be taking a lot of damage. So in a team fight, that's really helpful to have this type of thief be the one to call out targets. Since they're very quick, they can get up to their target quickly, and then they can make him an easy prey for the rest of the team. Now his second ability is Initiator's Strike. Shadow step towards a foe, also great for chasing, strike them, and maybe use Shadow Return to Shadow Step back and cure one condition. Alright, so he's got a Shadow Step forward that also immobilizes your foe. So that's a great start. That's a good way to leap onto a target, get off your slice chain, and then make him easy target for the rest of the team. Or if something goes wrong, maybe you accidentally shadow step to a warrior, and he just kind of turns and starts to kick the crap out of you. You have a weapon ability that also works as a stun break. That's amazing. I wish more classes actually had that. But you can use Shadow Step Return to get the hell out of there, and even if he stuns you with something, it breaks stun and automatically returns you to your last position. So you're always going to be in great positioning, no matter what happens, which is really what the Thief is all about. Now, your fourth ability with your pistol is Headshot, which gives you a short daze, which is also almost kind of like a good interrupt. So think about it that way if you're going to think about anything. It's definitely not protection. It's a good way to mitigate a strong attack that you see coming, or to cancel a channeling attack that's going on at the moment. And his fifth ability is Black Powder. Fire a black powder shot, nearly blinding foes with a cloud of smoke. Now this is good. This is a great ability for everybody, because it is a physical projectile for a combo finisher, but it's also a combo field. So if you can create an explosion with an engineer in that smoke field, you automatically gain invisibility for your entire team that is in the smoke field. That's a good setup for a team fight, especially if you're with an engineer who's got a big bomb. He can set it in the middle of your smoke field, blast the entire enemy team away, and then your entire enemy team becomes invisible and has a good head start on picking out a target to finish off, to turn the tide of battle quickly. Alright, let's get into his other weapon. So he picked the short bow, which is understandable for a thief. When I tried thief, I went dagger, had a lot of fun. I tried to think of when I would want to be in short bow, but really I just stuck to dagger, and I feel in this type of build it ends up being the same way, just because he's so mobile. I mean, think of how quickly he just gets right onto his target, gets his damage off, gets out, and waits for it to all happen again, because they're all abilities that are on decent cooldowns. I mean, that's his main damage. So short bow's nice. Let's look at the abilities real quick. The first ability is Trick Shot. Bounce an arrow between multiple nearby foes, up to 3 targets. That's a good auto attack just because it does a lot of damage for a team fight. And then we get to Cluster Bomb. Fire a cluster bomb to the target area, detonate in midair for multiple explosions. So basically, if you don't use the second version of the ability, it creates a small explosion, which does 122. Or if you use it correctly, it detonates a large explosion for triple the damage. But they both add bleeding stacks, which is nothing amazing for this build since this is obviously a power build. But it's also a combo blast finisher. Now, why is this good? This means that he can use a blast finish on his smoke screen. He casts his smoke screen, switches to short bow, and uses this ability for a blast finish to make his entire team invisible. Awesome. That's something rare in a lot of professions. It's not very common for you to be able to create combo fields and finishers at the same time. Maybe like elementalists, necromancers can do that. And this is a very strong combo field. Now his number 3 ability is Disabling Shot. Do an evasive leap away from your foe while firing a cripple shot. This is alright, I guess. He's already got that leap forward and then his auto attack on his sword that keeps a constant cripple on his target and a vulnerability. So this is alright, I guess. But he really wouldn't switch this weapon just to use that. Now, Choking Gas. This also is another combo field that he can use with his number 2 ability on a short bow to create a blast finish and do a lot of damage to everybody. So if he's in a team fight, this might actually be a good option just to get off one thing and then switch back to sword dagger to start working on just individual opponents. But fire an arrow that fills the target area with a poisonous cloud. That's alright. It does a 5-second poison for 420 damage, and then does a minus 33% heal effectiveness. Now that's good. That can get like 2 or 3 targets, but it's also a combo field of poison. So if he uses his blast finisher with his number 2 ability, that can possibly get the entire team in a team fight, or at least a lot more of people, with that minus heal effectiveness. That's really important. That cancels support class, that really hinders strong sustain classes like warriors and elementalists. So that is a very, very good move to have in a team fight. It might be a really good initiator if team fights are turning sour or they have a lot of sustain that you want to get down. And his last ability on a short bow is Infiltrator's Arrow. Fire an arrow and shadow step to the target area, blinding nearby foes. Alright, so he's got another shadow step ability to get right up next to his target. This is great for chasing. A lot of classes have good escape abilities, like especially elementalists. We hate this ability. We can use Ride the Lightning and get the hell out of there and be like, Oh, I made it. Think. Crap. And there he is, right on us. Switches to his sword, and just makes sure we can't get away ever again. And we're dead. It's annoying as balls. And I strongly recommend it for every thief, just because of those situations where a person's going to get away and you don't want to waste time chasing him. But it makes it an option for you to kill him because that doesn't waste any of your time, really. You're there, you're on him, you kill him, and then you walk back like a badass. Alright, let's get to his main focus though. Let's look at his utility skills. Now his heal's pretty obvious, withdraw. It's a good condition removal, good heal, nothing wrong with that. And on a 15-second cooldown, that's crazy. Alright, roll for initiative. This is a good stun breaker for all thieves. Evade backwards to regenerate initiative and recover from crippled, shield, and immobilize. So this is very common for Heartseeker thieves because they need to regenerate initiative. But in this case, it's mainly for the break stun and for the condition removal, which is good. He's got this on a minute cooldown, so that's gonna be handy, but it's not always gonna be it's not always gonna be there. Unlike his withdraw, which also always cures immobilized, chilled, and crippled. So you can use those back to back once in a while if you're really getting chained down by like a warrior or a guardian. But other than that, you're kind of left to sticking with your heal. But who cares? 15-second cooldown, it's gonna be pretty useful anyways. Now, his second utility skill is haste. Gain quickness, lose all endurance, and stop endurance from regenerating. Now, why do you care about endurance? You've got Shadow Step out your ass. This is an amazing ability. You can either leap towards your target, you can use your arrow to leap towards your target, and then just burst everything down. In a team fight, you might even just use Trick Shot, gain your quickness, and just bounce arrows everywhere and do tons of AoE damage that you couldn't do on your sword. In a team fight, it's amazing. In a dueling, it's even better. You get great damage off. On your sword, that stun is probably enough to get off your entire attack. Just a half second, you can probably finish your entire pistol whip attack. And then just continue to slice chain him down to death. His last utility skill is Signet of Shadows. Very common. And what this means for him is that he's going to try to be a roaming thief. Now he's got to find a balance in this because he's got such good team fighting abilities. He's got great ways to call out targets. He's got great ways to cripple the other team so that they can't support each other. But he does have quickness, which makes him a top duelist. And his ability to break stuns constantly, get out of battle, and then get right back in and do more burst damage makes him a great duelist and something to fear by the rest of the team for being alone. So the Signet's passive grants 25% increase in movement speed. Signet active is blind foes near your target. You're never going to use that. You just want that passive all the time. Maybe if you get skilled enough and you can tell when something bad's going to happen, like a warrior just starts rushing towards you, you might use it. But you got other blinds. You've got a blind for black powder, and you've got your infiltrator arrow blinds everyone around you. So that's not exactly necessary. Now, the only problem I have with this build so far is his elite skill. He's got Basilisk Venom. Your next attack on your foe turns your foe to stone. That sounds hilarious. Stone duration, 1 second. Alright. Why is this good? It's good because he's unable to use skills or move. That means you cannot use a stun breaker. That's very tragic for a lot of people, like elementalists, mesmers, other thieves. And since he's got great shadow step abilities, that attack's going to happen. There's no way to get away from it. But Since he's so good at getting in and out of battle already, I don't really see how much trouble he would have where he would actually need that ability. Like, compared to what the other abilities are, Dagger Storm, that is an annoying as balls move. You gain 8 seconds of stability while you channel this. It's a combo finisher, so he could actually cast his poison or cast his smoke screen and then use it to cast blinds or poison on everybody that he attacks. So that does a crazy good amount of damage. Or another common one is Thieves Guild, called More Thieves to support you in combat. Now, they are like phantasms and clones of a Mesmer. They do the damage and they have the health. They are something to fear because they do enough damage that you want to get out of their way. And they have enough health to where you don't want to waste your time killing them. That ability just makes you really want to get out of there quickly. So, whichever you pick, they're both really good moves. And Dagger Storm's on like half the cooldown of Thieves Guild, so also something to think about. Basilisk Venom's on a 45-second cooldown, so it can be used. It can be used like almost every team fight, but you still gotta wonder why you would need to use that when you have all the abilities that you have right now. It just seems a bit over precautious, and it's starting to take away from his damage that a power build should really have. Alright, now we finished the abilities. Let's look at your traits. Now, traits, interesting. Okay, he's going 10, 30, 5, 25, 0. We've got 10 in his first row. This gives him Serpent Touch. Stealing applies poison for 10 seconds. Alright, that's good. Because if he's focusing down a support or someone that can heal constantly, being able to use Steal as a measure of precaution to make sure that they can't sustain long enough for reinforcements or sustain long enough to actually kill you, that's a good thing to have. But his first thing is Mug. Obviously, deal damage when stealing. Always good. It does a lot of damage. So it's kind of a must for most thieves. Alright, he's got 30 in his second row, giving him 300 precision. Alright. His first trait that he picked, though, is 5% of precision is converted into vitality. Good. He's getting some health, getting himself some longevity during his fights. Good. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. The next one is critical haste. 10% chance to get quickness. 2 seconds on a critical hit. Oh wow. Okay. So this is really good for him, especially if is already in the fight. That's something he has to make sure he realizes when it goes off. Because if he doesn't see it go off, he might not know when to attack, or he might not know what ability to use. If you could see that it's going off, he can make sure that he pulls off his good burst damage and gets maximum damage for the limited time that he has it. So this is very good. But if he's like chasing down somebody with his bow and he fires one lucky shot that is a crit, which is very possible with his 50% crit chance, and it sparks it and they get away and he's just kind of wasting it, maybe he doesn't actually see that it happened because there's no real big like glowing sign on your screen that really tells you, oh, you have quickness. Have fun. So he might go into his battle thinking he'll get a quickness proc, and it's still on cooldown, so he's kind of at a disadvantage because he's expecting something to happen. Maybe he would have switched to crossbow, set up a combo field, while instead of waiting for that proc to happen before he actually starts doing other stuff. So it's something to think about and something to try to get out of your head at the same time, because while it is useful, it's not something you can depend on, but it is something you have to keep an eye on. So that's really annoying, I guess. Alright, and his last one is Executioner. Deal 20% extra damage when target is below 50% health. See, that's not what I would think about when I see Executioner. I would think closer to Heartseeker, where it's like 20% health, 25% health. That sounds like a finishing move. 50% health seems like a lot of time to have 20% extra damage. That's really crazy for a power build. Especially when there's other classes that have this exact same thing, and it's like when they're below 20% health. When you see this, you're just like, wow, that's really strong. That's not fun. So this is definitely one of our best traits to have. Alright, so he took 5 in his third row to get use blinding powder when your health reaches 25%. Alright, good cautious move just in case you're getting stuck. I mean, he's got enough stun breakers to where if he gets that extra few seconds to live, something's going to be off cooldown and he can get away. And then in his fourth row, he's going to have 25 points. So let's see what he gets. Power of Inertia. Gain might whenever you dodge. I see. So while you're fighting a warrior and you're dodging his greatsword abilities or his hammer abilities, you're getting stronger. That's crazy. Against professions with big tells like warriors and mesmers and stuff, that's going to be huge, and you're just going to overwhelm them quite easily. His second trait is Pain of Response. Gain 10 seconds of regeneration and remove bleeding, poisoning, and burning when struck, and health is below 75% health. And it's on a 45-second cooldown. This is alright. It means you're going to have 10 seconds of regeneration for most of a fight. Good. That actually helps. Especially when you're one of those classes that's a bit squishier and has lower HP, regeneration is actually more effective for you. And then for that 25 points, he's going to get that increased damage by 10% when endurance is not full. I like it. It does well with his Power of Inertia. So he's always got motivation to be moving around and to dodge abilities. Since he's got enough stun breakers, he can kind of use that endurance when he wants. And then he'll get caught maybe because he's out of endurance when something big happens. He can break stun and then do it again. And he gains a lot of power and he gains might. He just becomes really, really unstoppable. Alright, that was a look at his traits. There's not much I can say for it, or say to improve upon it. There's just other options that he could try that might fit his playstyle better. And I have no idea if they would. Just an option. Like on his first row, instead of Mug, even though it does damage, he could also have Sundering Strikes, 40% crit, 40% chance to cause vulnerability for 5 seconds on a critical hit. Not much, but it's on a 1 second cooldown. That's literally every chain you do is going to have a vulnerability stack on it for 5 seconds. So you can always have 5 stacks of vulnerability on them if you're chasing them down, or if you're working as a team, you're giving yourself extra damage and you're giving your team extra damage, which is really strong. And then on his fourth row, I thought instead of Pain Response, I thought he might use Fleet of Foot, which dodging removes cripple and weakness from you, which is really good to not have to rely on your heal. If something like just a cripple happens on you, you want to save that for immobilization. Or, if they're really good, another cripple. So, having more options and using a faster regenerating resource like that, like endurance, could really be useful during a fight and keep you alive a bit better than a small amount of regeneration. So it's just an option. So let's look at his runes and armor and accessories. Now for his weapons, on his sword, he's using Sigil of Minor Accuracy. Gain 10 precision each time you kill a foe. Always good. This is more of back to what I was saying. When I played the Thief, I couldn't stop using dagger. I had no real desire to go over to my short bow. It looks like he feels the same way about his sword pistol. So since he knows he's going to be using sword pistol a lot, especially if he's dueling somebody, each time he kills a foe, he's going to be gaining precision for his next attack. And on his pistol, he's got Sigil of Rage, which gives a 10% chance on critical to gain quickness for 3 seconds. That's really big. The problem is that it's on a weapon that he's not going to be using as much as his sword. He's got a daze and a blind on his pistol. So even if he uses his daze and smokescreen, he's only going to use them maybe once or twice during a battle. So that 10% chance is going to be very opportunist, to where if it might show up during a battle, or if it might show up in a not advantageous way, to where he uses a daze at the very end of the battle just to make sure he can finish the opponent off safely, and then he gets quickness, and he's like, God damn it, you could have shown up sooner. No, the problem is that Sigil only affects that weapon. So, I don't know, maybe he could switch it around, because that gained precision affects him as a person when he's in that weapon set. It's not that you have to have the killing blow as a pistol to get that 10 precision. So if he just switched that around, he'd be in better shape, because that 10% critical on a critical chance is probably going to happen with just one burst attack. That's just going to make him strong right off the bat. And on his short bow, he's got Sigil of Superior Battle, which you gain 3 stacks of might for 20 seconds. Holy crap. When you swap to this weapon in combat. Awesome. He's in a team fight. He pops his quickness. He switches to his short bow and just starts using tons of trick shots, just melting the entire team down. That is a great opener for team fights. Alright, on his armor, he's got 5 superior runes of Balthazar, giving him 165 power, 15% burning duration. 4 is gain haste for 5 seconds when you fall below 20% health. I see. So, gaining haste for 5 seconds when you're below 20% health is very risky. Because if you're below 20% health, how long do you think you're going to live? Even if you're a warrior, if you fall below 20% health, you have maybe 2 seconds left to live. So that gaining haste for 5 seconds, unless you know as soon as that procs, you're out of there. That's going to take a lot of practice to get down. To say, and okay, I'm below 20% health. Dodge roll out of that, heal up, and then get back in battle and start doing tons of damage. That is very risky, and I don't really advise against it, especially now. But if you can make it work, that could make you a very strong opponent. And then his 5th rune is Superior Rune of Divinity. Plus 10 to all stats, 2% plus 2% critical damage. That's up to him. I mean, as one rune, it doesn't do too much. So even if you got plus 25 power, he's probably getting the most out of that one rune with Divinity anyways. And for accessories, he's got the Berserker's Amulet for 798 power, 569 precision, 284 vitality, and 15% critical damage. Very nice. Makes his burst damage huge, but gives him some vitality and even more precision. But he's taking the Knight's Jewel, so that he gets 125 vitality and 75 power and precision, which is just kind of a good backup, just to make sure he's got that extra vitality. It's something to think about when you're using such a squishy build. You need to be able to stay alive when something goes wrong. Because something will always go wrong. You need to be able to live through that. But all in all, I think he's got a good idea. what he needs to practice on is how he wants to roam, because he's got such good team fighting abilities that he's going to want to be in more team fights than he is wanting to duel. So what he needs to practice is with his team. Is he only needs to roam when he's got objectives to take down and he's got to back up somebody. So if his team says, we need that trebuchet down, he's on it. He's got great burst damage. It's going to be gone in a second. And then he can get away safely and get back to his team as fast as possible. Or if someone's defending a point and starting to get overwhelmed, he can come in, do some damage, keep the point secure, and then get back to his team as fast as possible. But he's a thief. He's kind of squishy, so if they're outnumbered on a point, he might need backup. I almost recommend someone else go help someone defend, just because thieves paint a target on themselves because they're usually very squishy, and as soon as he shows up, they're just gonna go, oh hey look, someone we actually can kill, and they're just gonna focus him down, and it's not gonna be pretty. Even with his stun breakers, if he can't get away, he's just gonna go down like that. So in those kind of situations, I recommend actually having a duo roaming system. This is really good with like a warrior and a thief, because warriors can stack vulnerability, warriors can tank a bit, and they can do a bit of crowd control. And first of all, the numbers might be a bit more even, so that when they walk in, they don't just see a thief and see a target. They see a warrior and a thief and they say, oh crap, a warrior, and they get scared. And your team fighting abilities also help in those smaller fights too. So you're using all of your potential to fight everybody. So I think he needs to make sure that he's using all of his abilities effectively. Even though he's thinking about being a roamer, he needs to practice when he needs to roam and how he wants to do it with a team, and how he wants to form his team around that. But I think it's a great start, and I think he's got a good idea of what he wants to do. Alright, that's about all I'm going to talk about this build for today, because I talked about it a lot. I hope you guys got a good idea of what the thief can do. We looked at a good power build, but he can also do good condition damage, good support builds. You just gotta think about how he gets in and out of battle very quickly, and how he basically paints targets for your team. It's really cool. But if you like the video, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons below, and I'll see you next time.